Hey, we are welcome to the next episode of Insight with NoseDive. Thank you guys for having us. I am sitting here with, sitting here kind of, sort of, with my man Dillon from Critical Crafting. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, we are here. It is an awesome Sunday evening. But thank you for joining. Um,
Yeah?
yeah, so we met at Drawlicon a few weeks ago. No, it's actually been about a month now.
Oh, don't remind me. I need to get the video posted.
Right. It's been quite a it has been a good it has been a good while since we last seen each other.
For
Um,
sure.
so we were at Drawlicon and you had this terrain building workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of good work, and I've seen a lot of good helpful tips. Um, Delve into that. What made you decide that you wanted to have this clinic at a place like Drawlicon?
Sure. So, I've been kind of involved with the crafting community for about 3 years now. I first jumped in after watching, so I kind of moved back to my hometown, and my younger brother, was like, "Dude, you need to get back into D&D," and I kind of put him off because I was like, "This D&D takes so much time. It's awesome, like it
Right.
really is, but like to get involved in it, like it's a time investment, right?"
Yes, it
And I kind
is.
of put him off. And then I started figuring out, okay, I think I do want to do it, but I had a sculpture degree, and I was working in insurance, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna make it so I can like combine some of the stuff that I can't really do normally.
Right.
So I started watching some videos, and the first one that I watched was a video by the DMG, and he was doing like how to make a sarcophagus out of like foam.
Oh,
So
okay.
actually, somewhere around here, I set it out because I figured you might. Ah, right here.
Yeah, sure. Go
So
ahead. Put
I
your work
figured you
out
might
there.
ask, like, what's the first thing you made? So this is not good. All right, I'm straight up. It's not good.
Oh, come
Everyone, but this is
on.
the thing is, everyone starts here, right? So
Right. Mm-hmm.
this is my beautiful sarcophagus, right?
Right.
And like, oh, it opens up and everything, but no mini fits inside. Which, oh.
I was gonna say, what happened?
Yeah, so that was the first thing I made, right? And
Okay.
I was like, this is cool. So then I started thinking, okay, what else can I make? And I started making like the two, like the mummy's tomb to go with it, like all the terrain pieces, so my players could move around. And I started getting involved in it, and it just kind of escalated where I was just building these bigger and bigger sets to a point where I think the biggest set that I've built was like 6 foot by 4 foot, if not bigger than that.
Wow.
And I built it, and then it was like, okay, you guys are gonna play through this, setting. I mean, it was a lot of fun. So I guess I got involved in the community, like I said, about 3 years ago, and then I got more and more involved as time went on. I started working with some 3D printers, with 3D printed tabletop on some Kickstarters, and getting involved in that community too. And when I heard about Drawlicon, and they said, "Hey, we're looking for people, and we want people to like come and do some expos and do some like demonstrations and workshops and that," I was like, "Hey guys, like I would love to do that, and I want to come in and just bring more people into the community because that's like what I'm all about. Is I want more people playing, I want more people GMing and DMing, and I want more people like crafting and 3D printing."
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity, especially it's in my hometown, right? Fort Wayne, Indiana, that's born and raised.
Right.
And they said they had this event downtown, and I was like, dude, I'm in. Like, let's do this kind of thing. And they were very, supportive, brought me on, kind of like told me how everything was going to go, helped me get set up. And then, I had my DM or my D&D group come, and a lot of them helped like set things up. My brother was a huge help getting everything ready, and I had an absolute blast. I mean, you saw me there. I was running
Mm-hmm.
around like a
Yeah,
madman,
I remember.
but I loved it.
Well, that's
And
awesome.
hopefully other people did. So,
Uh, you got me hooked because I'll show this because I have it sitting right here, where
nice.
people at home you see where it was kind of like a ruined street. in a desolate village, or whatever the case may be. And then I walked past the Mad Bros table where they were selling the minis. I stopped and I literally did a 180. I turned around. I was like, I want these minis, and I'm going to paint them, and I'm going to glue them here, and I'm going to glue them right there. And that's what came with that. It was the two dwarven mages and the red dragon right there.
So you jumped right in after the terrain tutorial into the painting minis and everything. You nosedived in, right?
Exactly. Yes, sir. And it was kind of like an addictive drug, like crack to me, which is nice because that's the last thing I need is another hobby. So you mentioned that you were working in another field, and you and I were talking, and you said that you were moving towards an education aspect from that. So is this the type of stuff that you want to teach, or what else do you do outside of terrain building?
Sure. So I actually, like I said before, I have a sculpture degree, and essentially I picked that because it was the most wide open of all of the art degrees, right? Like you can paint something or take a photo of something, and as soon as you put it in a frame, it's now become a sculpture, right?
Okay.
So my thing was, I love working with every kind of medium. I like working with clay, with foam, with paint, with bones, like anything I can get my hands on it, I'm gonna make something out of it.
Right.
So as a person who had this degree, right, and I was ready to rock, like awesome, we're gonna like jump into this, and I'm gonna figure out a way that I can use this to teach people. Well, it didn't quite happen that way. And I ended up working in insurance for about 5 years, which it was a great way to kind of build some equity and kind of set myself up and make sure I provided for my wife and that and myself. But after a while, I kind of get everything set up, and I'm like, I want to do what I've always wanted to do. I want to teach people, and that's kind of why I started my YouTube channel, Critical Crafting, was because I needed that outlet where I could try and like teach people how to do stuff. And I was finding all these different ways to do things that other people hadn't done, and I was like, I need to share this. Like, I want other people to know about it. I'm just excited.
Right.
So for me, the transition is sort of like I was just so excited to teach that I just knew I had to do it, kind of a thing.
Okay.
So I'm transitioning. I'm in a transition to teaching program. I will be starting my student teaching in September, early September, and that'll wrap up around December.
That's coming up. That's coming up here in a few weeks.
It is, and the interesting thing is I'm actually doing digital art is the class I'm teaching.
Okay.
I've never done any digital art my entire life. So I'm learning a new skill in the interim.
Right, you're nose diving in this time.
Exactly. Yeah,
oh my good lord.
I am, and I'm excited but terrified at the same same time.
Is it high school, or are you teaching?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's high school. The degree or the certification is actually preschool through high school, but I would prefer to teach high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand.
Yeah, it's a different audience for sure. And I got to, sit in and see some elementary and like up through, and I was like, yeah, I just feel like I like the high school kids a little bit more, like the dynamic more.
Right.
And especially because a lot of the stuff that I do is, you talk about mediums, like what do I work in? I work in everything. And it's hard to introduce some of the more complicated mediums at some of the younger levels.
Right.
You can do it, but it's just something where I'm like, I want to teach a whole bunch of things, and so that's kind of why I've kind of moved that way.
Right. You need a lot of people. Sometimes when it comes to younger kids, it's hard for them to have an appreciation for what you do.
It can be. I think that they do, and I think there's really an importance in like introducing younger kids to different art forms because they can kind of gain an appreciation for it. But like me personally, I started developing my appreciation and love for like art or crafting or that kind of thing in high school. So I just kind of gravitate towards that because I understand that just innate attraction, and I want to, just like with you when you came away and you're like, oh my gosh, like I want to do this now. Like
Right.
that's what I want to like bring to other people.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. It's my old man, because my dad, when I was he wanted to be a music teacher when I
Mhm.
was first got to college, and it takes a very special person to want to teach, and that to have that love and to have that passion for it, and it's definitely a harder job.
Yeah,
So
can be for
kudos for
sure.
you. Kudos to you. Best of luck with that. Um, you, I was looking on your Twitter when it comes to research, just so I know
Sure.
what type of questions to ask, and what like just kind of get a mindset for what we're going to do. I saw that you won a speed contest mini painting at
I
Gen
did.
Con. How was that? What was your time?
So all of the speed painting contests at Gen Con were 45 minutes long.
Okay.
And actually the hardest part was not knowing what mini I was going to get until they
Oh.
handed it out,
Okay.
right? So another part too was I didn't get approved for my press pass for Gen Con until about a month before. And that meant that every hotel was booked,
Mm-hmm.
every event was booked,
Yep.
and I was walking in with generic tickets and like walking up like, "Hey, do you have an opening? Because I would love to, paint."
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
they're sassing me and all this, like, "Well, if you came half an hour earlier, maybe we would have."
Right.
And so I got into a couple of them, and the one that I ended up winning, I felt like I didn't deserve to win. To be
Really.
to be straight up, all right. Like the second and third place guys, when I saw their paint jobs, I was like, dudes, like I'm just legit with you. I feel like you should have won. And I'm
Uh
not
huh.
saying that to be, I'm just like I honestly feel that way. But I'm not gonna argue with the judge because hey, I just won some stuff.
Oh, hey,
Uh,
hey, whatever. It's
so,
not
but
my
whatever.
call.
So,
Yeah.
but this is actually the mini that I painted
Oh,
in
there
the
it is. Uh huh.
45 minutes. Um, which it's nothing exceedingly special. I painted another one, which I thought was actually better in the same amount of time, for
Okay.
another speed painting contest.
Mm-hmm.
What I found, so if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I want to do a speed painting contest at a con, my biggest advice or my best advice is don't use metallic paints because the judges seem to discriminate against people that use metallic paints.
Really? Why is that?
Uh, I think it's because there's sort of this stigma that if you're a good painter, you can paint like fake metal using non-metallic paint, right?
Okay.
And so they have this like idea that you can do that if you're a good painter. And so the minute that they see someone using metallic paint, they're like, "Oh, they're not like an expert painter because they just use metallic paint." And they move on from there. I don't know if that's the truth, but every single one that I saw win was non-metallic paint
Hmm.
and it wasn't your normal color. So like this one, I painted the armor blue, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the person, and this is the one that won. The person that won the other contest that I was in, they painted their armor purple and had like a big blood splatter over the whole thing. So
Oh.
everybody that I saw that won was doing something that was like outside the normal paint scheme and was not using metallic paints.
Okay.
Um,
So more of an
but they're all
originality factor.
there was
Okay.
a huge part of that involved, I think. And again, I don't know. I didn't talk to the judges afterwards, be like,
Right.
"Hey, why did you pick me and not these?" But that's just kind of the vibe that I got. The other fun thing that I did when I was there was like a paint and take thing where you could just sit down and paint for a while.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
I got to use Games Workshop's new contrast paints, which everyone is like going crazy about right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was 25 minutes to paint this. And it's one layer of black and one layer of yellow, and that is it.
That's
Which
it.
is insanity to me.
Oh, jeez.
Because what it does is it's kind of like a wash, like a heavy wash, where it settles into those darker areas and then
Mhm.
it leaves like a lighter coat on top. So like you can see if you're talking, hey, I want to paint like armor metal without using metallic paint, like that's one coat of black. That's crazy.
Right. Just from
So
my angle, it looks almost gray,
yeah,
like
and
an
that's
actual
kind of
metal.
what it is.
Uh.
Yeah, and that's how it's designed. It's made to be like it kind of does the work for you.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that one of my bigger takeaways from that was if you want to do speed painting, avoid the metallics.
Avoid metallics.
And if you want to paint faster, my two biggest pieces of advice are just take a look at those Games Workshop um, contrast paints.
Mm.
And the other one is look into doing what's called batch painting, which I'm actually releasing a video probably tomorrow if everything gets finished on. Which is essentially like doing an assembly line of painting because I was finding like I had way too many things I needed to paint. And so what I did is I'm like, okay, all the things that are similar, I'm gonna paint them all as an assembly line. I'm gonna paint all their skin first, and then I'm gonna paint all their weapons, and I'm gonna paint all their clothes, and it actually speeds it up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I timed it, and I painted 14 orcs, and these are some of the. So these guys are actually from the Kickstarter that I'm a part of right now.
Oh, okay.
And I painted 14 of these guys, and they each took 45 minutes. So these are essentially speed paints, but done as sort of an assembly line.
Right. The red and black just screams Warhammer. I'll add that.
Oh yeah. This guy
mm-hmm.
here, and so that's funny too because I had a hard time picking like a color scheme.
Right.
Because there's so many different ones
mm-hmm.
out there, and when I painted, I did some testing, and when I saw the like red armor, I'm like, oh man,
it has to be.
I have to do
yeah.
it.
What are your favorite color combinations or your favorite complementary colors? Put you on the spot here.
Oh man, so I use blue and red a lot, and I mean a lot. I don't know why. It just seems like I just love them together a lot. I mean, you can see. I mean, that's pink and red and blue up here, but like most of the stuff I have. I do a lot of like bloody effects sometimes, and I just find the contrast works really well. I also love using like greens and browns together, which is more like the natural sort of look. But if I'm doing like clothing, I normally go like blue, red, or brown.
Okay.
Yellow is hard. Anyone who tries to paint yellow or white, those colors are really, really hard to make work as like clothing.
Is it
just because?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying because like the highlights and shadows involved, it gets really difficult.
Right.
You can do it, but it takes a little more time.
I see. Yeah, you kind of answered my question right there. So nice one. As long as you're not showing that's a problem because you're showing me blue and yellow, and then you showed me black and yellow, which coming from. I'm from Columbus. I'm a Ohio State Buckeye fan. So you're showing me Michigan colors.
You're like, no way. I don't want to see. Let me see if I have any.
and then to top it off, you show me black and yellow, which I'm also a Cincinnati fan. So you're showing me Pittsburgh. This is a bad idea.
Okay, well, I don't have red and gray, but I use a lot of like reds, right?
Right.
So. Lovely little buggers like that. Well, no, wait. This guy's technically. Well, unfortunately, he's red, gray, and blue. We'll just cut.
That's fine. That's fine.
Now he is.
Okay.
Ohio State Buckeye.
I am pleased. Wait, show that back. Put that back up there because they actually look like it was almost like an Ohio State helmet.
There you go.
Yeah, actually, that is almost an exact replica of the Ohio State Buckeye helmet.
I'm also an Ohio State Buckeye fan. My whole family on my mom's side went to Ohio State.
Oh, really?
Now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so
very nice.
It's funny because when I painted the other ones that are they're gray skin and red armor, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, dude, these look like Buckeye orcs. And the ones they were painting gray, and I'm like, hey, they're not white, but it almost looks like I'm gonna have the scrimmage.
Right. It's hard to get away from it because you're trying to do something different, and it just ends up coming right back.
Yep. And that happens all the time. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do something that's gonna be so original, and you do it, and then you're like, oh crap, I just copied, whatever. But that's good sometimes. You get inspiration from a weird place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Speaking of originality, you're talking to me yet again because that is a very nice mug, by the way. I've seen it a few different times, and I'm jealous because all I have is a mason jar.
Well, hey, those work too, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, speaking of originality, we were talking about some projects that you have done.
Sure.
I remember specifically your black pudding monster that you made from hot glue residue. Yep, that's exactly it. Yep, very nice. So, what are some of the more obscure and original projects that you've ever been a part of?
Sure. So, some of the things that I have made that have been a little bit more original, the one I guess I'll start with is one that blew up on Reddit and also kind of
Mm.
was the thing that first like boosted my YouTube channel a little bit, and that is the Bone Golem.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that
so,
is huge.
oh yeah, so he's on I'm trying to think, it's a 4 inch. No, it's bigger than that. Oh man. So he is on a 6 inch base.
Oh, okay.
Can't be that. No, it can't be that big. What is this? No, I'm wrong. 3 inch base. I'm
Uh-oh.
counting. I'm squaring things. So he's on a 3 inch base. I do have one that is on a 6 inch base. He is massive. But what these are made of, it's just those dollar store skeletons that you're going to start seeing pop up right now because apparently it's Halloween
Yeah.
season.
Mm.
And it's just them all cut up and glued back together into this new lovely monstrosity. And I have a whole YouTube video, if you check out the channel, that's like how you can build one of these guys.
Okay.
One of the other things I did with those before him was a like bone entryway,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or like a bone, sort of bridge looking thing, which my players were terrified to go through. When you put,
I
you drop
can't
this-
imagine why.
I know, right? I'm like, I put it on the table. I'm like, okay, yeah, you see like a big gate, and there's like a whole bunch of reaching skeletal arms. Would you like to go through? And they're like,
Because that's not normal.
do we have a choice? I mean, can we go somewhere else?
Can we go around the gate, maybe?
Yeah, and they try. They're like, we'll just go through it. Like, I'm like, that was the worst thing you could. Anyway, so that, and the other thing, like, I like to make traps that are like unorthodox.
Mhm.
So I did one thing that was and terrain that's kind of weird. I was like, I want to do terrain people haven't done. So I did flesh terrain, and
Really?
this is my flesh terrain here.
Wow. What is that made of? The styrofoam as well? Uh-huh.
Yep.
That
So all
that's gory and epically cool.
grotesque. So all
Uh-huh.
it is that foam, and then the veins are just painted hot glue.
Uh-huh.
And then this is actually like a cloth with a latex on top of it. But I wanted to do like a really weird kind of encounter. So they were inside the body of like a dead demigod, and they didn't know it. They were just like, why is all the terrain like weird and fleshy and like veins everywhere?
Okay.
So I introduced weird traps, like
Mhm.
this mouth pit monster.
Oh, okay.
That opened up when they entered a room, and I did like a homebrewed gibbering mouther kind of monster that
Mhm.
busted out. And then this guy, this was actually a lot of fun. I called it the Cadaver Master.
I was going to say I haven't seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that monster before.
So what it is, if you check out on my website, on the Critical Crafting website, I did a stat block. It's for 3.5. I am working on a 5e stat block for him.
Okay.
But his whole deal, you kind of see here, he like covers the whole area, right?
Uh-huh.
So his deal was that he's essentially like a puppeteer, and he has a bunch of corpses that dangle on these strings, or these tendrils that he can use to both attack the party and whatnot.
Mhm.
So he controls these dangling skeletons that can attack the party, or they can perform plays, or dances, or whatever. And the interesting
Okay.
thing... and the
Like
thing
kind of like the marionettes.
Exactly.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, like a very macabre marionette. And the bard figured out that if you pretended to enjoy the performances, the Cadaver Master was like, "This is great," and was like, "Okay, fine. Like you guys can go through the chamber. It's
do a
cool.
piece, yeah.
Like hooray, they love my work." And if you didn't like the performance, then things got a little bit not so
You
great.
become a part of the play.
Yes, exactly. It would try and grab you and force you into a role.
Oh
so
my
we
God.
had like one player who got forced into one of the roles in the play, who's trying to resist as it's making it do things in like a battle with the skeleton. And I mean, it was a really crazy off the wall encounter, and
Right.
they loved it,
Mhm.
because it was just different.
Right.
And then I've done some more like simple stuff, like everyone loves purple worms,
Mhm.
so
Classic.
the purple worm,
Yeah.
kind of a deal that people tend to really enjoy. But so those have been some of the like crafted things that I've done. I've also done like I mean, bigger projects I can save a little bit. But so I've done a lot of that, and then I've been a part, like I said, of a 3D printing community. So one of our like big ones about a year ago now was the Lost Dragons,
Mhm.
and we did 3D printable files for different miniatures that you could print.
Okay.
So this is the Father of Frost, and then I designed 5e and Pathfinder stat blocks for all of those monsters. So that was a lot of fun,
Okay.
and it was all original new monsters, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
Uh,
Did you have that put on Tumblr by chance?
um,
Because I vaguely remember a group of unique dragons like that.
They might, well, it might have been us. It might have also been Legendary Dragons, which they did an amazing Kickstarter, and it was a book or it was a PDF or a physical book,
Oh,
which I
okay.
actually saw at Gen Con. That was all
Oh,
new
okay.
original dragons.
I see.
But I loved working on that Kickstarter, and then the new one that's currently going on is called The Lost Adventures, and that is a fully printable encounters, monsters, terrain, everything. So you get 3D printable miniatures, you get 3D printable terrain, you get 3D printable props that you can hand out to your players. So like when they kill the big owl bear, you can give them the claw of the owl bear that you printed.
Oh, okay.
And then we have like maps that all of it fits on. And then the encounters that I've been writing kind of with the team that goes along with all of it. So like here's one of our terrain pieces is a tree, and then the canopies actually come off, and you can set miniatures down inside of the tree.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Like they're hiding in the tree. I see.
exactly. Yep.
Oh,
So
okay.
and
That's
there's
unique.
like owl bear from it.
Hmm.
This is another owl bear that I painted as like a panda because what panda owl
Yeah,
bear,
exactly.
right?
Why not, right?
So that's been kind of the big project I've been working on now. But yeah, I feel like the great thing about crafting your own stuff or printing your own stuff is that you can be creative with it and you
Right.
can make things that fit into your homebrew game or your campaign setting and things that will like really surprise your players. Because when they see
Hmm.
a troll, they may like, hey, everybody whip out your fire weapons because let's go out to town.
Yeah.
But when you throw like a ice troll at them or something, they're like, I'm not sure the same thing is gonna work this time. Like,
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. So I
Just
love that.
right, switching it up. Did you get a chance to meet Orson at Dralicon?
I'm not sure.
Kind of bigger guy, had glasses. He
What was he? Was he from Suddenly Tabletop or where was he from?
he's done work with Suddenly Tabletop. I'm not sure exactly
Okay.
where he's from, but he was doing he was actually doing a class that was just kind of impromptu based on character and monster creation.
Was that like earlier in the day? Because on Saturday.
That was Friday, I believe it was, because we had
Okay, I
just
wouldn't
gotten
have been
there.
there for that. I
Oh,
didn't get
okay.
in. I was working, so I didn't get in till late Friday night and like start setting things up.
Right, I see. No, we were no, because you were talking about switching it up and giving it a different feel, different flavor. That reminded me so much of what he had to say. So maybe I don't know if there's a hive mind between creators like that. I'm not sure.
No, I think that's just something that like once you've played for a while and you've started to like get a feel for everything, I don't think you get bored because honestly you can't.
Oh no,
Uh,
no.
but you get to where you're like I think you get devious. You're
Mhm.
like, oh, like how can I kind of do something that my players are not gonna expect?
Right,
And once you get to learn your party, you know what they're gonna kind of do, and you
right.
can plan for those crazy off the wall things. And sometimes it's really fun for them to be like, oh, they have this crazy off the wall idea, and you're like, you were totally prepared for it, and your idea was crazier. Like,
Oh my God, I can only tell you the horror stories. We that sounds like a revenge session just to go through and take care of all the murder hobos.
we had one session, which was when my brother he plays the bard, right?
Uh-huh.
So that says it all right there.
Yep.
We had a session where it was like his going away session before he went off to college to like exit his character for a while before he came back over the summer.
Right.
And we literally did like a hangover episode where like they none of the party remembered what happened the night before. They woke up with like tattoos, and of course there's like the bard edition of
okay.
stuff.
I see
right?
what you're saying.
Just fun stuff.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, there was a hangover. There was like something I found on the DM's guild that was just all drinking escapades and hungover. It was so funny. I was just reading through there and I was coming up with all these ideas what I could do. It's like this is pure gold. Whoever came up with this is just a pure genius. So
there's some really good ones out there. I'm trying to think. I can't remember if it's canon 5e or not, but there's a creature called an Alehouse Drake that essentially is like a dragon who's like a protector of a bar kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's like breath weapon instead of being like fire or ice. It's just an inebriation breath weapon. Which is hilarious. I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Legendary Dragons, they did a similar thing where they have a dragon who I think his name's like Glitz, something like I'm probably wrong, but his whole deal is he's like a dragon that just owns a bar, and that was like his thing. Like you're not gonna fight the bar owner dragon,
no,
but it's just cool. Like they came up with like instead of the dwarf bartender, there's a dragon that's like out back, stirring up cauldrons of ale, kind of a thing, and like I don't know, I love that stuff. I love the crazy up there.
I have to keep that in mind. I have to look that up because that's just hilarious. Like seeing the Barty Gumble of dragons come down. That is awesome. So you and I were talking about doing this, and you said you had so many projects going on, some podcasts. What kind of podcast do you guys are a part of right now?
Sure. So I don't have a podcast that's going on. I have my the YouTube channel that I post on regularly, and then again part of the Kickstarter kind of a thing. I have been talking with some people about starting up like a ongoing podcast where we would essentially talk instead of specifically, because my channel is very crafting oriented, and I decided I kind of wanted to branch out a little bit. And when I go to these cons, I'm like, awesome, I get all this content for crafting, which is great. But I also wanted to talk about the content that isn't really crafting oriented. So I've been talking with some people about putting together a podcast, and we started doing like a trial last week of how is this going to work.
Okay.
But the whole idea is like talking just RPGs, like tabletop RPGs, everything from, what are the differences between editions, which is like, you might as well shoot yourself in the foot even trying to talk about that, but we're going to talk about it because
why not? There's so much.
There's a ton, and not only that, but like wargaming and tabletop RPGs, and like what to do about players that aren't really performing the way they should be, and what to do when something happens that in your campaign that you're like, I don't know what to do about this, kind of a deal. Because we kind of have brought together a group of people of varying levels of experience. Like I've been GMing or DMing since I was like 12. And even then, like, there's still other people who are like, huh, fool, I've been doing this for 30 years, kind of thing. Like, it's totally true. And there's so much that we can learn, not only from people who've been doing it forever, but that's the idea of, maybe doing this podcast is also people I want to talk to that are like, they're new. And they're like, hey, this is my experience being new, and maybe they love it, and maybe they're like, I don't understand what's going on.
Right.
Like, I need help, kind of a thing.
Because there's so much going on at one time.
Exactly. Yep. And I think it's a good idea to try and figure out a way to explain things to newer people, because even, like, trying to talk to, say, my parents or my grandparents about, like, what is D&D, and you sit there for 10 minutes and, like, try and explain it, and at the end, I, like, look at them, and I'm like, I hope they understood that.
Right. You're not just speaking
but I
Greek.
know it's like really.
Yeah. I know. I try talking to my fiance about it so often. She's like, I don't care. Okay, that's nice. I don't care.
You just have her sit in on a session and just witness what happens.
Oh, I'm trying. I'm trying. we actually did that a few. That was probably about a month ago. My 7-year-old stepdaughter came down and sat in on one of our sessions, and it wasn't really a kid oriented part of it. Are you familiar with the Dragon Heist campaign that
bit,
released about a year ago? They had an idea to take the tavern and turn it into kind of like a brothel style, kind of like an Assassin's Creed feel, where it's kind of like, Blade under the table style. And they were talking about hiring all the maidens, and I have this 7-year-old stepdaughter sitting kind of like right here asking all these questions. I'm like, you know what, this ain't going to work. You need to go upstairs because I'm going to hear from your mother tomorrow morning when you start asking about brothels and whoring and all of that.
But it can definitely be, and that's another interesting thing is, you can play D&D as like, clean and kid oriented, or as like adult or dark or however. Like there's so many like styles and ways to play it, which I think is awesome. Like,
right,
I think that's a testament to the system. But I mean, I had my buddy the other day. He borrowed some of my like minis and like my really old starter campaign 3.5 stuff, and he like played it with his like really young. I think they're like 7-year-old cousins. And he came back and I was like, well, how, he goes, oh man, we played for like 6 hours. And I was like, well, how was it? And then after I asked that, I was like, oh, like he was going to say, it was terrible.
We were handcuffed to these chairs for 6 hours.
Yeah, I strapped them down and they had to play. So, they really enjoyed it. And I think that's really cool that, and even had like Gen Con and Drolicon and Origins, which, I took all 3 this year. And I felt like one of the coolest things was like walking around and seeing somebody who was like in their 70s playing the same game as someone who was 13 years old.
Right.
And I can't think of a lot of other like areas that we have that are as can be as cross-generational as tabletop role playing.
Yeah, you get so many walks of life who, and all it takes is an imagination. I mean, yeah, you can learn the rest, but you sit down and just think. You think, and you just let go and have fun with it, and that is truly a beautiful thing.
Well, and that's the great thing is it doesn't just attract people who are like, the tactical people. So like wargamers, they can totally get into D&D, and they might be a min-maxer, but whatever. Like they still really like the game. And people who are like storytellers getting into it, people who are actors getting get into it, people who just want to like have a friend group to hang out with and just like have fun and like make random stories and that. Like it attracts so many different people. And I love that. Like, I don't know. I get, like, super excited.
Oh, yeah. There's, I'm friends with a couple of people on Twitter who do the after-school thing. The after-school special where they come in and they do nothing but play D&D, Pathfinder for a couple hours a week. And they show nothing but success for it. So maybe that's something when you go back for your student teaching, you can actually bring that up. Say, hey, how about we do an extracurricular activity that's not, athletic based and it's not, hard. There's no money to it, no dues. Right there, get a classroom, sit down, and you're playing D&D for a couple hours.
And the great thing too, like combining the crafting aspect of it with the like creative role playing thing is like as an art instructor, it's like, hey, we can have a activity where you can sit down like as a student, you can sit down, you can like make something, and then your friends are going to actually use it, and you can sit down with them and like play. You use creative thinking, you use analytical thinking, you use writing, you use math. Like there's so much about D&D that people don't really think about that is actually like a huge part of a professional development portfolio in a sense where if you were to take D&D and like take all the aspects of it and write them out on a resume and just not include the fact that it was D&D.
Funny you say that. I actually had the same conversation with my fiance about it. last night, actually, because we were talking about it, and she said, D&D, you don't get nothing from D&D. I'm like, actually, sit down. Actually, and I listed all of that: team building, critical thinking, problem solving, math. Exactly, and people don't understand that, and that is it's one of those things that are just taboo, where you don't really see the value in it and how you can apply it to everyday life, so to speak.
And there's so many articles, if you look out there right now, about how they're using D&D with kids who are maybe antisocial to help them, become a little bit more involved with the community.
Right.
And it's not that D&D is a community for antisocial people. It's just that because it is so inclusive, those people who are a little more antisocial, like, oh, like, these people are awesome, and I can feel a little more open with them, and, like, we can be ridiculous and, like, fun together, kind of a thing. And they've even used it in prisons, which is crazy, right? Like, they've used it in prison therapy to have people, like, okay, you're gonna role play as this individual, and, like, and they've honestly found that, like, it's helpful.
Right.
So I think that's really interesting, again, to find that it's not just, like, this is an amazing hobby. It really is. Like, it's incredible. And it will suck so much time if you let it. Right? Yeah. But it's totally worth it, because you will get so much more out of it than what you put in. Unless you're a DM, in which case, I'm sorry, because you just signed your soul away to just committing all your time to other people.
Yeah.
And I love you for it. But welcome to the
Yep, exactly. All of the ideas you have are not. And I get kind of jealous. I get jealous when I have a good idea for a campaign, and I say, you know what? I will never be able to enjoy this on the other side of the veil, because I know all the tricks. It's kind of like the Inception. You never write your own maze because you know it's how it's going to be.
Do you DM then, or do you play? Or
it depends. I'm right now I'm DMing, like I said, the Waterdeep. Every now and then we'll switch it up, and I'll be a PC. I'll play. I'll just come up with some crazy, just something generic. Just put a little twist on it. We did one a few weeks ago where I was a human. See if I can remember. It was a human wizard who I worked with Trav, my friend who was with me at Drolicon. He was the DM, and he said, "Okay, you're going to betray the party at the last minute to a kind of like a group of mimics, and you're going to do it for a wish spell." So I played it up. Okay, how can I do this thing where I can make myself look almost as pathetically as possible, where they're not going to believe it. And we got to that point, and my character had a huge stutter.
Oh, jeez.
So I was just playing it up. I said, prisoners, where's my wish spell? And then it took them a minute to just kind of like digest it, and they say, "Oh, this motherfucker, he is." And what sucked about that whole thing was I never got to use it because I got one-shotted by the guy who was literally right before me in initiative. So I was thinking about, what can I do? Can I take my stutter away? Can I give everyone else my stutter?
With your wish spell.
Exactly. And
nice.
That
is awesome though, because that's like in character. Because so many people were like, "Oh, I have a wish spell. Like, I'm gonna wish for a castle. I'm gonna wish for like a vorpal blade."
Right.
But you like did the role playing thing. Like, no, I'm gonna do what my character would want most. And that's awesome.
And that was. We'll never know how that's gonna play out because
you dead.
That dick killed me. But
we actually had. It's funny because we had a very similar situation and the same deal. Where the DM, we had a player who was going to leave the group to go off to school or whatever. So DM's like, "Yo, you're going to play this character for a while, and at the end, you're going to betray the party." Well, the person had to leave a little early,
Uh,
and so he starts texting the DM across the table. He's
Yeah.
like, "Yo, I'm gonna betray the party now," and the DM's like, no, like it's not time yet to do
Yeah.
that, right?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna do it," and he's like, no, please don't," right? He did it, okay,
Right.
and I was a wizard. The fighter betrayed the party. I'm the closest person to him, and I was like this close to getting murdered because he decided a session early to take pot shots at the rest of the party, kind of a deal. But an interesting thing though about that is sometimes, because what we've done is, I brought in a new group of people. So I've DM'd for a very long time, but honestly, it's only ever been with my brother because we
Right.
could never find anyone else to play, and so it's just like me and him. And then we found one of my buddies was like, "Hey, I have this group of people. They want to play D&D. They haven't done it before." I'm like, "Sweet, bring them on. Let's do this. Like that's
Right.
all what I'm about."
Yeah.
So we brought them on, and they were amazing. I mean, just incredible right from the beginning. One of the greatest parties. But it's really interesting because we've switched off, like being DMs with me and one of the other guys who was newer, who really wanted to DM, and he's done awesome. And it's been really cool to give him advice and help him out, and then also learn from him, because when someone comes in that's new and you're like, "Oh, like that's a really good idea."
Yep.
But what's interesting though is you can do that where you have like the DM and one of the party members that knows something the rest of the party doesn't, and you can come up with some pretty cool stuff to use that way that can make your game very dynamic and interesting. Or like when people are stuck on a puzzle and you can be like, "Gonna just text a little hint over there."
Right, yeah. So you hear somebody in the cave just whisper, "It's the one on the right." Throw out a little hint. Somebody.
Just text that over here.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, that's a very... Yeah, that's a very...
I tried passing paper. It didn't work because
No.
people see you pass the paper.
That's why I kind of... Because I'm a very analog guy. Like, I don't have D&D Beyond. All I have is pencil, paper, all that. That's the one thing I love about this digital age, is where you can text somebody like that. Where say, "Hey, you remember this guy from a past..."
Ago.
Yeah, from your
sessions,
origin.
a year and a half.
Right, and it's not. You can do it discreetly. It's not like you have to get up and walk around the table, whisper to somebody like you. That is very. I love that aspect of it.
We integrated something recently. I guess not too recently, but we set up like a TV at the table over here, and we would hook up the DM computer so you could throw up onto the television like initiative order. And also, if we had where we had to change up settings or whatever, because I have a lot of stuff that I made, right?
Right.
Terrain, and it takes a while to set that up.
Right. Yeah.
So we did like in Skyrim when it's loading and it has a screensaver. We have screensavers for the TV that is like maybe an NPC that you've met before, or a location you've heard about, or a rumor that might lead to another quest.
Okay.
So when I'm busy setting stuff up, or the other DM is, they can look on the screen and be like, "Oh crap, what is this? That could be a side quest that we can go on once we get to whatever city." Or it's a reminder "Hey, remember this guy? Because he's going to come up in the session."
I see. That is innovative. Very nice. Have you done the actual? Because I've seen where they actually take these enormous flat screens and install them into a table, and then they load the map that way. That's.
I've not done that. I've seen it, but because I build on my own terrain, I have not really been pushed to do it. There are some incredible ones, though. I mean, I think Dynamic Dungeons is one that they do the whole, LCD screen or whatever.
Okay.
LED, but the thing is, it's looking down, and it will have dynamic fire effects or dripping water from above, and it looks incredible.
Wow.
Right? Just gorgeous. So that can be really nice. Ours, let's see if I can swap. I'm not sure if I can swap this around or not, but we'll find out.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. So my table, hopefully the wires don't screw me up. There is the lovely table
Oh,
there,
okay. Yeah.
if you can see it well.
Uh-huh.
And the DM screen is actually like lowered down, so you're not like
You're not hidden, right?
yep beneath it, and then it's got like a Velcro system on it, so you can swap out rules if you want to play a different edition. All the
Okay.
rules are laminated with Velcro, and you can swap them all out, which
Okay.
is
That's
nice.
yeah. That is very nice. Kind of like yeah. One of our we just had that where we talked about buying a screen that's got like all like the inserts where you keep initiative order, and it actually works
Hmm.
great. I have no money to spend on it. Like I said, I got to use pencil paper, but it's it's very
Well,
very
but that's the
useful
cool
tool.
thing. I think again about D&D is like you can play with nothing but a pencil and paper,
Mm-hmm.
or you can sit there and spend $1,000 on minis and books and terrain and table,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is I think that's awesome. Like that you
Yeah.
can make it like as you can do the same thing in a way with as little or as much as you want,
Right.
and I think that's something that's really cool about this community.
Yes, it is. And I'll tell you what, I just thought of it. I will top your LCD from Dynamic Dragons. I will top that. Um, the Little Mermaid DM on Twitter. Yeah, unique name.
The Little Mermaid DM.
She is.
Is it all aquatic terrain or what's?
No. Actually, I don't know. But I saw where she was. She had. She started running these sessions. Yep, the Little Mermaid DM. But she was running these sessions of D&D through Minecraft, where she went through
Really?
Minecraft and made these dungeons.
That's interesting.
So that is, yeah, very unique. Great idea. Great
Well, there
idea.
are a lot of people that run like online D&D. I've got a buddy in Germany actually who
Mhm.
plays like Roll D20, and he's always like, "Dude, we need to like get on and play together."
Right.
And I keep like meaning to jump onto it because it's like it's so cool that there's this huge community, like
Yep.
literally an international community of online, people that play tabletop games. But it's just crazy like that exists, and it's so cool because there are so many different ways that everything interconnects. Like the Kickstarter we're working on with the maps,
Yep.
we're hoping to release digital assets for people who do play online.
Mhm.
So like, hey, if you play online, like here's a tree asset that you can drop into your game, or like here's a archway asset you
Okay.
can drop into it. Because that's I think a problem a lot of people have when they play like Roll D20 or whatever is they want to make like a cool looking map, and they have a little bit of trouble because there aren't a ton of assets out there from what I understand. I've never done it, so maybe I'm wrong there.
Right.
But that's just kind of the vibe that I've gotten.
Okay.
But yeah, the online community in general is just astoundingly awesome.
Yep. I, I do agree. I've stolen so many ideas from them, from a few different people. Actually, I saw one. I know we're taking up a lot of time. Actually, wow, we've been on almost an hour. That is insane. Don't
I
feel.
talk a lot. I get the
No, it's not that. I'd rather have somebody talk a lot than somebody who doesn't. Just listen to 45 minutes of dead silence. But
I'm gonna give you so much you need to edit later on. It's gonna
I'm not even going to edit it. Just drop it right in.
just drop it.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, no one's really put their foot in their mouth just yet. No one's really blundered, so there you go. It was somebody had in the wake of all of the MCU stuff, the Infinity War. It was actually before Endgame because it was probably about a year ago when I found it. They actually created stats for these Infinity Stones. Like the
Okay.
Time Stone was once a day you can cast. I think it was Warp or some type of spell,
Okay.
and it actually came into this gauntlet that when you snap your fingers, it's like activating a wish spell.
Nice.
And then the stones just shatter and they go in all these different directions. And it was so cool. When I was at Drawlicon, I don't want to say I got roped into, because it was one of those things, okay, yeah, sure, I'll run it. But I had bought this, it was the beginner's box from Starfinder.
Okay.
And so they said, hey, do you want to run the Starfinder? I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. I don't know anything about Starfinder because I'm purely 5e at this point. I'll try it. So, reading through, I tried coming up with some things where it was, what can I add to this to make it not so generic? And I thought, okay, I'll give one of the party, I think it was the Time Stone, or yeah, I think it was the Time Stone. And in the setting, in the campaign, in this beginner's box, it was this basic generic dungeon crawl, but there was an NPC who was kind of like a treasure hunter.
Okay.
And I literally ripped Star-Lord and dropped him in this campaign where he was doing the little dance and he was acting cool, and he said, hey, I'm a legendary outlaw, and he had this box with him, and I was hoping that somebody would steal the box just so they can explore that little aspect of it and figure out, hey, this is the Power Stone that this guy had.
Right.
But looking at all of that, and I got that off of Tumblr, and Tumblr is such a good idea for a good way to get ideas. And Reddit, as you said, your channel started from Reddit. So the internet's a great thing to come up with any type of ideas. And a lot of it, like you said, it's a community that just loves to help each other, loves to put ideas out. I mean, you're not going to find a bad person. I don't think you're going to find a bad person in this community, as far as being stingy. And
most people just want to help other people make cool games.
Mm-hmm.
The 3D printing tabletop guild, the tabletop crafters guild. They're amazing for newer people or even experienced people trying to like find stuff for their games. I'm a part of a couple different like DMs guilds on Facebook. Honestly, Facebook is one of the areas that I'm most active. Just because of the like format seems. I don't know if it's the age group of the people. I don't know if it's the way that it works, but it seems like that's where the most kind of interaction happens. Mm-hmm. And then I'm on like the Twitter, Instagram, Reddit a bit and that kind of a thing. But there's so many. Like there's just you get on Twitch, there's just a ton of these different channels on YouTube or wherever you want to go, and everybody for the most part just wants to help other people.
Right.
And I love that. Like, or they're out there like asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time you don't get people that are like, oh my gosh, that paint job is terrible. Most of them are like, hey, like, have you tried this? Like, this would be super cool if you could integrate that. And like, I'm not the best painter ever. Like, when I went to Gen Con and I saw some of the people painting, I'm like, what is this? Like, you people should be, I don't know, like in a museum or something. This is insanity what you're painting here.
Yeah.
And like, just constantly learning. Like, always learning from these people. I'm like, hey, I know all the painting tricks. I'm good to go. I walk over to Gen Con. I start talking with some of the people that like paint as a profession. And I'm like,
yikes.
I know nothing, Jon Snow. Absolutely nothing. Like, these people have got everything going on here.
Oh, my God. Yeah. But it also goes in hand with when I was in music school, it was the same thing where they said, you never reach that level where you're absolutely perfect or you don't feel like you have to practice anymore. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is the fact that everyone wants to help you get to that level where you say, maybe I'll stop or maybe I'll tone it down, and then like you said, you walk into a convention one day and you get blown out of the water by a whole lot of other people.
I think the phrase is, what is it? Great. It's either great or good art is never done, only abandoned, which is like kind of cuts my heart a little bit because I just want to be done. But actually that's a big point too. You know, a lot of people talk about there's like tabletop ready versus like showcase ready and that. And if you're looking at like painting, right? Like painting
Right.
minis or painting terrain, really, if it's good from 3 feet away, you're good to go. Because no one's gonna look at it closer than 3 feet away on the table unless it's the player that is sitting there like, why
Right.
is this orc's eye like a centimeter off? And you're going, how about you put that down because he died like 4 rounds ago.
It's in the past, Betty. Leave it alone.
Let it go. I'll paint your character real nice, but don't like pester me about the 50 orcs I painted for this encounter.
Oh my God, I understand. From this point, you don't see anything bad, right?
No, that's the thing. Like
there's a missed spot. There's a missed spot. There's some hot glue right there that came from somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
That's the way that it is. You know, is if it looks good from 3 feet away, no one's gonna say anything. Especially when you drop 20 orcs on the table, no one's gonna be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me pick this one up and examine it for a moment. You know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you're a tabletopper, just paint them the way you like them.
Do it. That's actually supposed to be a blue dragon.
I noticed that you did it red.
Yep, because just being, well, as you see.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. But like, I don't know if they're going to be able to see it. Like you said, the lava pit right there.
Mm-hmm.
It just did not make it. It just didn't make much sense to me to have a blue dragon be in that environment. To me personally, and the guys at Mad Bros didn't bring a red dragon. Those assholes.
Well, it's funny because like I talked to a professional painter when I was at Gen Con, and he kind of said the same thing. He's like, dude, people are gonna tell you that you need to paint a mini a certain way, and he was like, it's your hobby. Paint it how you want to paint it. Like paint it how it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's awesome. Like when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, that's it, like a blue dragon mini or whatever. But when I saw the way you painted it, and I saw like the scenery, I'm like, dude, that screams red dragon. Like that's some crazy red dragon like mutant or something. It's awesome.
Right. But I don't know. Part of me would. I don't know if I want to pull it off and paint it blue or not. I don't know.
That's the great thing though about painting stuff and crafting things is you can take the minis you bought and you can repaint them.
Yep, exactly.
You can always redo something, which is amazing. I mean, that's one of the great things about the hobby.
Yep.
And there's a lot of like paint strippers if you're like, oh no, the paint is too thick or it looks too terrible. You can just dump it in there, rip all the paint off, and start from scratch.
Right. Exactly. You're not going to beat the mini up unless you take a blade to it.
Pretty much. And I've made some zombie minis out of regular ones that way, but
all just by cutting their little arms off. I see it.
Yeah, I've got my one brother had a donkey that he became very attached to as a character, and when it decided to spit in the face of a wereshark and got torn to pieces, I decided to let him find an animate dead spell and reanimate it as a zombie. So I bought another Reaper Bones donkey mini, mule or whatever, and I took a scalpel and I just like cut its eye out and cut like gashes into it, and like just made it look like it was all zombified.
There you go.
But it was
Very
great,
nice.
Doing the kit bashing thing and dropping that on the table like a few sessions later, and the whole party's like, she's back! Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. So we've been on here for about an hour. Yeah, I'll go ahead and wrap it up unless you have anything you want to throw out. I recognize.
Good, man.
I'm trying to figure out where I've been trying to figure out all session long where that backdrop came from, and it hit me. It's on the business card that I got
That's
from
right.
you.
There you go.
Yep.
That was the banner at Drawlicon there.
Yep, that's exactly it. I was like, where have I seen that? Like the beholder and the well, just that kind of like that aviated look. I'm like, where is that? And I look down. I'm like, oh, I see. Smart man.
There it goes.
Yep. All right, Dillon. So, where can we find you at?
You can find me on YouTube. My channel is called Critical Crafting. If you also look up Critical Crafting and then you put in the words Dillon only after it, you'll find me on a Google search. Unfortunately, Critical Crafting apparently is a thing in Dark Souls, so if you don't put the Dillon only, you're going to go to a Dark Souls-oriented website.
No,
I'm
don't
also
do that.
on Twitter as Critical Craftin without the G. Somebody else took that. That's just the way things go.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitch. I am on, Kickstarter. I am on Instagram. I am on Twitter. Just look up Critical Crafting or Dillon Only, and you're gonna find me somewhere around there.
Right. Yeah, you're not gonna miss you. Where is when does your Kickstarter go live?
It's actually live right now.
Okay.
We have, I want to say, about 11 days left. It's called The Lost Adventures. And if you type that into Kickstarter, honestly, if you type in Kickstarter, The Lost Adventures on Google, it's going to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
We are fully funded. We were actually fully funded day one.
Oh, really?
It was within the first couple hour and a half.
How much was it?
It was $5,000. We're up to about 105,000 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, kudos to you. Very, very nice.
So but the great thing about that is that the more people that back it and the more money that kind of goes into it, the more stretch goals we unlock.
Precisely.
And we have so many awesome stretch goals and boss encounters and terrain and props and encounters that I'm writing that if you back and we continue to unlock them, you will get to see more and more. So I would highly recommend checking that out. It's run by 3D Printed Tabletop. My buddy Daniel Herrero has done a great job with supporting the 3D printing community and the D&D community in general. And myself, Nick Porterfield, Caitlin Smith, and then a whole bunch of other people are collaborators on this. A lot of artists that are in the D&D community. So I highly recommend you check it out. If you're thinking about 3D printing, it's a great hobby to get into. You will find that it will be just as addictive, if not more, than painting things. So check it out. It's great. It's great.
All right. Well, you heard it. Lost Adventures on Kickstarter. You got 11 days left. Go check it out. Dillon, thank you so much for joining.
Sure thing,
Appreciate
man. Thanks for
your
having
time.
me.